big. Ahoy there, matey. Welcome aboard the world of boating.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
I was just looking into buying a boat of my own.
Call World of Boating toll-free now at 1-8888-28-BOAT. That's 1-888-828-BOAT.
And welcome. This is the World of Boating. Greg, your first mate. Barry the Boater. Mike the Mariner rounding out the crew as he attempt to navigate the latest boating news and information. A lot of stuff has happened since our last broadcast spectacular. And I say that in all modesty. Not really. Because I'm kind of a big deal. Barry and Mike don't even know this, but I was out on the left coast. I was out in L.A. last weekend, and I was out there for a scuba diving event, but I ended up getting on TV. Yeah, Face for Radio made the TV screen, number one rated TV station last Saturday morning, and they were asking me scuba diving questions, but I got a nice little plug in there for the World of Boating. I don't know if
Cool.
Mike and Barry saw that, but they should have.
I saw it.
Did you see it? Were you impressed? We were like, wow, look at that guy. I know
was
him. I
impressed,
know
but-
him.
But you know, when you're being interviewed, you look at the interviewer. You kept
Yeah.
turning your face towards the camera.
Yeah. So
So I
trying
mean,
to
look
connect.
at the,
with
no,
people.
connect with the lady you're speaking to. It
Screw
looks more
that.
natural. You know, it's
He wanted
like,
to connect to the camera.
That's right.
yeah, I noticed that. I if there was a mirror there, he was probably looking at himself. You
No,
know,
I was
saying,
looking
"Ew."
at the camera
And it
going,
said,
Barry, look at
"Ew."
me. Look at me, Barry. Look
Yeah,
at me.
No.
Yeah, but that was kind of
So,
cool. It was the number
Was
one
Newsom
rated
there?
TV station in L.A., and they put me on
No.
their TV. I don't know.
Yeah, and they had the mermaids. They had Kristen.
Obviously, it was
Who
a
was-
very slow day for
Who
news.
was the other mermaid?
That was Carrie. So we had
Okay.
Carrie and Kristen.
Kristen.
Yeah.
Kristen goes everywhere. Yes.
Yes, she's our. She's like the number one mermaid for scuba
She's
radio.
the the traveling mermaid.
She's our TV. Usually they get all the publicity, but for whatever reason, the cameraman kept putting the camera on me. I'm like, hey, I'm the radio guy. Go shoot it at these girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got him in there. But yeah, it was fun. I was out there doing a big, scuba event, but I got out there and I was in Long Beach, and they got a massive marina there. We went out on a boat and cruised around the marina a little bit, and it's just impressive. I stopped off at the Queen Mary. You ever done that in Long Beach? Ever been on the Queen Mary? Have you done that, Mike, or no?
Oh yeah, actually, I went there for an engineering conference some years ago, and the engine room was closed. You're not allowed to go down in that area,
Right.
and we snuck in anyway.
We did.
Yeah, we did. We went down and looked around in the engine room, and were asked to depart the premises.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can actually stay on the Queen Mary. They still have it set
Yeah.
up as a hotel. And I had the opportunity to stay on it, but it was a little bit too far from the convention center, and I didn't want to have to Uber back and forth, so I didn't do it. But we went over there and caught up on how it's looking. They've been doing a lot of refurb on the Queen Mary over the last couple of years, and they're making
that's
some
good.
progress. Yeah,
That's good because
a
it
fun
looked
little
really
tour.
bad when I was there.
Yeah, it's fallen on tough times, but it has a fairly good paint job right now, and they've cleaned up things where it's a pretty good tour. And the biggest draw, all the tours were pretty full actually on this. Let's see, actually it was a Monday. It was Monday when I was on the Queen Mary, and yeah, what's nice about it is people are checking it off the list. They're coming over there to take the tours. The tours are pretty good. They got several different types. But the biggest draw is the ghost tour. They say this is
Oh yeah.
the most haunted ship in the world. That's what the Queen Mary's claim is. There's 45 people died on this boat over its
Oh wow.
life.
And here I thought it was Silhouette.
You've had people die on your boat?
No.
Oh, jeez.
That is not a good selling.
Unless you're running ghost tours. I
Yeah.
mean, we get closer to Halloween, you got to milk that, Mike.
Well, I've got lots of electrical ghosts and things like that I have to chase all
well, those are
over the place.
gremlins.
Really?
Yeah. Those are gremlins or trolls. I don't know.
Yes, right.
But supposedly Queen Mary very haunted, and you walk around certain parts of the Queen Mary, and it feels creepy when you get into the bowels by the room where you lose light from the windows and stuff, and get into the interior of the ship. There's a weird kind of vibe when you're walking around in there, or they got a solitary room where they used to. When people would get sick on the voyages, they'd put them down in these quarantine rooms, and you walk around in there and it just kind of, I don't know, just feels creepy.
Well, it's good to hear that they've restored or they've been working on the boat. When I was there, the only thing that was open was, I think, a bar and one of the restaurants. They were not allowing anybody to sleep on the boat, so the hotel part was closed.
Yeah, it's wide open now. Yeah.
But that really ultra private tour that I took of the engine room was awesome.
Well, I bet it was. And you were probably watched by some ghosts. You
I don't know. We
probably brought
were
one
just-
home with you.
I was walking around with a guy that I used to work with, and we were just roaming. We were out there on a business trip, and we were roaming around the ship, and we kept going downstairs, and then we found this door that said, "Do not go beyond this point." And
Which means you're going to do that. Yeah.
Of course, we opened up the door to look inside, and it was the engine room, and we were like, "Oh, we're going in there." So we just did not see the
Did
door
it,
sign.
and you were escorted off the vessel shortly thereafter.
Well, not off the vessel, out of that area.
Oh, okay. So
we had to leave that area, and they were nice about it. We were like, because there used to be tours down there, they just didn't have the tour open at the time,
Gotcha.
and so there was nothing crazy about it. I mean, they still had all the ropes up that keep you on this one path, between the engines and the boilers and all that stuff. So, but it's just amazing how big the machinery is. It just blows your mind.
I'm sure.
How big those engines are.
It's a big ass boat.
It is
It
big
really
ass
is,
boat.
a luxury liner back in there. It makes the Titanic look like a midget or something. It's way bigger than Titanic. They actually got a model of Titanic on the Queen Mary. They got like 2 or 3 other
That sounds like a bad omen.
ocean liners. Right. Well,
I don't want any pictures or any references to the Titanic.
well,
on
a
my
few
vessel.
years ago, the boat was in threat of sinking. It's in like a permanent
Yes.
mooring area, and I guess it's floating, but it was starting to sink, and they were having all this restoration problems. But I think they're on the track of bringing it back. But it's well worth checking out. You can spend a few hours on this thing, and then you can have a meal if you want, or have a cocktail and one of the the fancy bar. I mean, it's just a cool thing that's kind of frozen in time, and there's
absolutely.
a lot of historic stuff that you can look around. And like I said, the ghost stuff is a bonus. I didn't get to go on the paranormal tour. I didn't have time for that
right.
because we were there during the day. Really couldn't do it. But
I wish
it's
they
on my
could
list.
have restored the USS United States, because the United States it has been towed from I think Philadelphia is where it was moored, right?
Yeah, right.
Over to is it Mobile,
Panhandle.
Alabama?
It's somewhere in the Panhandle. They're planning to sink it as artificial reef.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
don't want them to do that. You want them to have it as a floating museum.
Oh, I think it would have. It's one of the most iconic cruise liners ever. To this day, it holds the speed record for crossing the Atlantic. It is the fastest ocean liner ever produced.
Well, that was one of the things about the Queen Mary too. It was one of the fastest of its time. But that's the wreck they're planning to sink, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the Gulf
It
there.
is.
And so you'd rather see it being a floating museum as opposed to artificial reef.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's at least for a while anyway. I mean, but it's just in such terrible disrepair. There's no way to restore that.
Sink it. We need
There's
another
not enough
reef to
money
dive.
in the American Treasury to restore that vessel.
Well, there's a lot of people that like that kind of stuff, and I'm not against it, but I know they want more wrecks in the Gulf of Mexico, and we've had the Riscony and United States one there. That's one they're trying to work out to get sunk and turned into an artificial reef too. All right, we're going to get back on track. Believe it or not, this week is National Fishing and Boating Week. We'll talk about that next on the World of Boating.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network. Successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the World of Boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
I want sun, I want sand, I want spa. Okay. Spa, facial, but nothing too remote because I'm a people person. I like to socialize.
Islands are good?
Islands are great.
All right, I'm thinking
Bahamas. I love the Bahamas. Yeah. I've never been there. I've always wanted to go.
We can get you to the Pink Sands Beach.
Ooh.
We can fly you direct into Nassau.
This is perfect. Let's do it. Bahamas. Bahamas!
Captain Rusty, by the way, is in the Bahamas this weekend. That's why he's not with us because he's out there boating. As he should. He's celebrating National Fishing and Boating Week accordingly on a boat. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's any coincidence. This is on the heels of National Safe Boating Week, which was, right there at right after Memorial Day. They do that. That's the Marine Patrol, and they were doing a bunch of free safety checks all across the country in the USA. And then, I don't know if it's NOAA or Discover Boating that got together and they, this week is the kickoff of National Fishing and Boating Week. I don't know if you saw Discover Boating was on in Fox News Plaza Saturday morning there in New York City with a bunch of boats, and they were telling all the, the anchors and showcasing how easy it is to get into a boat. Like a, $80,000, $90,000 boat may cost you $500 a week financed, which,
a week or a month?
I mean, a month.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. but when you, price that out, over a year, that's going to be cheaper than a, fancy, vacation for a family of four or, like Disney or something like that. God forbid.
Oh, Disney will set you back $4,000.
Way more. Right.
Yeah.
An hour.
Yeah, exactly.
$4,000 an hour.
True.
It's strange. The post person had stopped by for a minute and handed me a letter from my Uncle Greg, reminding me that next week is Father's Day, and he had a list of all kinds of things he wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
Start planning accordingly. Yeah.
These are the 5 things that you can do. You can grab a fishing rod and reel to celebrate National Fishing and Boating Week. You can invite a friend on board or rent a boat. Some of the boat rental places do require a safe boating card or something like that ID. You can get that through Florida's website. You can actually take an online exam and they may accept that ID.
Yeah.
You could host a dock and dine adventure. And I would say that would probably be a good idea with Mike the Mariner, since he has a nice big yacht that would take you to the dock and dine with you.
I'd rather just eat on his boat, though. He has a really nice boat.
You can enhance your season with new gear. Everyone always likes new gear.
Oh, yeah. We always want new gear.
And you could share your love with boating and fishing on social media for the media people.
Well, there you go.
So that's on the Discover Boating website.
Right.
And check out Discover Boating. It's a great way to get away from it all.
Yeah. Well, it's a good way, a great resource, especially if you're new to boating. And that's kind of what they were talking about this morning on Fox. And, talking about how economical it really is when you compare, the use of time that you would have with your family out on the water price-wise and comparing that to, a 1 week vacation. You get it, every weekend you can take your boat out and enjoy it. But the other element is it's like, you don't have to buy a boat. You can just go rent one and get a little taste of what it's like to be out on the water and do that kind of thing. I'm actually going up to Myrtle Beach for a family reunion next week. And I'm going to do just that. I don't know if I'm going to rent a boat or I'll just get out on a personal watercraft, but that's usually one of the things that we do.
They invited you back to the family adventure, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why did you say? I know exactly.
Yeah,
what are you saying exactly?
I thought you were banned.
No, I'm just the black sheep. And,
okay.
But they still allow me to, sponge
renting a
off
boat
of everyone else.
renting a boat can be really good for a lot of people. You know, they may say, "Oh, it's so expensive," but you don't have to take care of the boat. You don't have to do anything except show up, make
Just
sure
the
you
good
have
parts.
your crew there. Yeah,
Yeah.
the good parts, and then you bring the boat back, and they check it out, and
Yeah.
everything's good. You go home. You don't have to wash it. You don't have to clean the engine. You don't have to
Right.
do any of that stuff when
That's
you're done.
kind of how I go out boating with Barry.
Yes,
I
I
mean,
noticed.
I go down to South Florida. I hop in his boat. We go out and have
Yeah.
fun for an afternoon, and then I leave. And
He says bye.
"Yeah," and he goes and
I have to
cleans
get
his
back up.
boat and does
Yep.
all the crap I don't
Yeah.
want to do.
Well, I
God
mean,
bless
so-
him. So
so
if you don't, if you don't have a Barry, just rent.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, renting is great for those that just want to do it like every once in a while. But you know, years ago, before I bought this boat, had bareboat chartered a Grand Banks 42
Yeah.
and spent a week on it. And hey, great time and everything, but you can only do that once a year because that's like $16,000
Right.
a year to bareboat charter a boat like that, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't do
But
that 3 or 4 times a year.
I'm not talking about renting that way. I'm talking
Hmm.
about like America. What is it called? The boating club.
Mm-hmm. Some smaller
join a
runaround.
boat-
Yeah, one
join
of the
it.
boating clubs. Yeah, you pay an initial fee, you pay a monthly fee, but all you got to do is make the reservation. I would like it for this particular day. What do you have available? And usually they'll have something available for you. You can just bring your gear down and you spend the day on the boat and
Right.
return it. And you could use it every weekend if you want.
Well-
I don't think there's a limit to the number of times.
Yeah, it's almost like a timeshare for boats, right?
Right.
But I
Yeah.
think what Mike the Mariner is talking about, I think is a very good way to kind of test the waters to see if the boating
Mm-hmm.
life is for you. You know, like one of those mooring type of rentals you could do in the
Absolutely.
BVIs. I just had some friends
Yeah.
that do that. They're not big boaters, but they went out on this thing with a couple other couples, and it comes with a captain and a cook, and they kind of lead the trip. However, if you want to run the boat and actually learn how to be get a little taste of what it takes to be a captain and some of the water skills necessary to manage a vessel like that, they kind of let you take the helm a little bit here and there and pick up things, and then you kind of get an idea like, hey, if I did this, could I do this by myself? And you're kind of they came away with the idea like, hey, we could probably do this. Whether we want to take the full plunge, I don't know, but you're right, it can be a little pricey still. But you split it up with 2 or 3 other couples, it's not much more expensive than going on a cruise ship for a week. When you think, Mike,
Yeah.
thereabouts?
Oh, exactly. In fact, I have some friends that just did the moorings, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, and they fell in love with it. They weren't really big into boating. They've owned several runabouts and things like that, and like a 30-foot Sea Ray Sundancer,
Right.
that kind of thing over the years. And then they got away from boating for about a decade, and they decided to book this trip and spent a week on a catamaran, and now they're going to go buy one. They fell back in love with boating again. So I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's a good way to test the waters. Yeah, what do you think there, Barry?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't remember the name. It's called Freedom Boat Club.
Right.
You've heard of them.
Of course.
I
Yeah,
think they're the biggest in the country right now.
I think you're
But
correct.
memberships include comprehensive new member orientation, Northeast, Southwest, free and unlimited training by certified captains, concierge level dockside service, access to a diverse premium fleet of name brand boats, zero maintenance boating. We handle the cleaning, repairs, insurance, and
Yeah,
beyond.
that's the part you don't want to do, and they do it for you. Good stuff. More coming up on the World of Boating.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network.
Traffic sucks, unless you're scuba diving with Mike Scott.
Mike glanced down at his dive computer. It showed less than 50 PSI left in his tank. Probably just a few more breaths.
Or riding shotgun in a thrilling car chase.
One bullet hit the Jeep's windshield, spiderwebbing the passenger side. Mike shifted into second gear and felt the Jeep leap forward. This just got serious.
Escape your commute with audiobooks from author Eric Douglas. Download to your phone. Go to booksbyeric.com or audible.com.
Traditional boat hooks are bulky, take up too much space, and sink. Switch to the Revolve Tech USA 3-in-1 boating tool. A marine-tough, compact system replacing your boat hook, stiff brush, and soft brush. The Revolve Tech USA 3-in-1 tool extends to 6 feet, then rolls up to just over 4 inches and floats. Upgrade to the Revolve Tech USA 3-in-1 tool for more utility, less gear, and zero compromises. Get 10% off with coupon code WORLD10 at smartboattool.com.
Successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the world of boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Come on, Williams, what are you standing around for here? Get on board.
Get on board. Don't fret. Don't try to worry. Just get on board. I'll take you there.
This is the world of boating. Greg, your first mate. That's me, along with Barry the Boater and Mike the Mariner for National Fishing and Boating Week. It kicks off today, and take advantage of it. You know, should you rent? Should you own? The main thing is you should get out on a boat. If you don't have a friend that already has a boat, remind them that it's National Fishing and Boating Week, and guilt them into taking you out on their boat.
Giving you a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way to kind of, grease the wheel. And it's good for them because they'll go out and boat and they'll enjoy themselves, whether you're on board or not, usually. Unless you're like Barry, then it's like, you just like, you can lock him in the head when he gets to be too much.
No, it's always fun unless it's not, right?
Yes. Well, there's always the gangplank, right? They get to be too much.
Hey, you're not doing that to me. I'm looking forward in a few months. I'm going to be able to get a free fishing license through the state of Florida.
Yeah. That's the old fart one.
The old fart one. Yeah.
The old fart loophole. You're going to play.
You could still, buy the fishing license, if you want to contribute. And my theory is that I've contributed enough.
So you're going to be 45?
Yeah.
That's the age, right?
Yeah. I wish.
I tell you what, I tell him this every week. He looks amazing for an 80-year-old woman.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
it's the moisturizer I use in my skin.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I mean, use National Fishing and Boating Week to your advantage, and encourage your boating friends to get out there. And if you have friends that are not into boating and you have a boat, take them out. I mean, this is your opportunity to kind of, make the club just a little bit bigger. You want to share the love. It's like paying it forward, right, Barry? You like to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it'll make you feel good, I think, if you do that. But yeah, also if you're thinking about maybe this boating thing is for me. I mean, Mike in particular is you do boat brokers and things like that and sell boats. So do you ever take that route with them and say, you know what, instead of buying this, why don't you see if we can, set up a week for you to rent it first? Or is there any rent to own kind of program? Or are they generally like, hey, they want to sell this and that's that?
I haven't heard of a rent to own program. That might be something like you do maybe a lease to own with someone that is selling their boat that maybe hasn't been able to sell it. So maybe that's an arrangement, but I've never heard of a deal like that being done.
Right. I mean, if you could do like hey, I really want to buy this boat. How about you let me use it for a week? And then if I like it, I'll buy it.
I'd never do that.
You would have to have a massive insurance policy.
No, forget it. It just isn't happening. No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's all liability at that point. I mean, when you're selling a boat, you're not even allowing people to take a boat out for a test ride unless they're under contract.
Yeah.
So, and then there are very specific reasons for that, right? But first of all, it's not cheap to run a boat. Boats burn a lot of fuel. And second of all, you don't know the skill level of the people that you're dealing with. So when you're selling a vessel that has any complexity at all, you're going to want to be under contract, and you're going to want a licensed captain managing that whole part of the process.
Right.
And that's just good for both parties of the transaction. It keeps everybody out of trouble.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. That would be one way to do it, but you know, there's a lot of rental programs. So if you get something close to what you're thinking you would want to potentially purchase, I think it's pretty wise to get out there and rent one for a week or for even a day and take it out and really, you know, kind of get familiar. Like, yeah, this is the layout. This is the size. I can manage this. It would just make you feel better if you got out there and tried it a little bit first. Don't you think there, Barry? Or what?
Yeah, but what I'm thinking is that let's say you've never operated anything on the water, maybe a canoe.
Okay.
Go out and rent a wave runner for a couple of hours. You know, there's a lot of concessions along the beaches and stuff like that where you could rent it for half an hour or an hour.
Right.
And see what it's like out there on the water, you know,
And then,
commanding
wait,
your
but-
own little
but
boat.
What? And then that would give you an introduction to
Well,
getting your own
That would
Sea-Doo
give you
or
an
something, or
introduction to
what?
see, well, not just that, but just getting out on the water and actually driving a boat. Because
Right.
it's not like driving a car. It handles a little differently. And some people may say, you know, oh, I feel uncomfortable on the water with this, or just uncomfortable on the water. I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of people that have never gone boating before.
Right. So, and so many people got into boating during COVID
pandemic.
that had never owned a boat before, right?
Right. Well, it's one of
So
the
the
only
thing-
ways we can go out and enjoy time with our family. You know, and still get out
but
there.
it's not for every family though. I mean, I
True.
had a friend that had never had a boat before during COVID, decided to go out and buy a center console. Went out and brought a brand new boat for north of $200,000.
Wow.
Kept it for a year and sold it. And when I found out he sold it, I was blown away. I'm like, wow, you literally just bought this 12 months ago. He said, yeah, we just figured out that it's
Wasn't
not for us. The
Huh.
kids are always at soccer. We don't have time. I mean, he wanted to keep the boat, but it
Yeah.
would have just been him because his daughters were off doing their,
Right.
their things,
Soccer,
If you
social
want to get
media,
your kids
whatever.
into boating, you got to start them very young.
You got to start them young. That's what my family did. I've been boating since I was an embryo, basically.
Yeah.
And my younger brother and sister, they have been entrenched in boating since they were kids too. And so we have a whole boating family. My dad still has a 42-foot sport fishing boat, and I've got my boat, and we've got a couple other little toys floating around.
Well, I've always thought, it also depends on where you're at in the country. If you live in Florida, I mean, we're surrounded by water. Take the hint. Hey,
Yes.
there might be something out there worth checking out, whether it's
Well-
going out on a boat or actually jumping off in the water and learning how to scuba dive and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I mean, it's right there. If it's easy, or if you're near a lake, or you have some
Yeah.
friends that boat, I mean, you leverage that connection, and that
Right,
might
there-
turn on a whole new world for you.
Right, and there are a lot of parallels between certain types of boating and even the RV lifestyle. And I just prefer to have an RV that has props and rudders versus wheels.
Makes
You know?
sense. The view's usually a little better too
Yeah,
than out on
absolutely.
the highway,
Yeah.
or some neighbor. It's like,
Right.
I can see right into their bathroom. I don't like
Yeah.
this.
But
But yeah.
that's where I would start off, is something like that. If you enjoy that, then maybe start going out on, there's one way you could go boating up and down the Intracoastal for, very low price, and that's to take the shuttles. They have these they're
Water
like
taxi.
water taxis.
Yeah.
And they take you all around the Intracoastal, and they usually are guides there that will, tell you about what's going on there. And they stop along the way. You can get off, go visit, something, go eat something, and then wait for the next water taxi to come around.
Yeah.
And it'll eventually take you back to where you started
Well,
from.
that's a pretty good way to get an introduction for sure. To kind of
Absolutely.
test the
I mean-
waters. Like, hey, if I had my own boat and I could go on my own
Right.
schedule, would I like this? I mean, that's not a bad way
You
to
could
do it.
also fishing boats. The drift fishing boats. I used to take Ben and I used to go out on those. He loved it. We'd go out there early in the morning. You already have your ticket. You bring your poles, or they supply them. They supply the bait, and they go out to these different areas and they drift. And people throw their lines over, catch fish, and they would mark each fish, and then you could take them home. They would clean them for you.
I'm
But
going to
it
do
gave
that
you an
next week. I'm going to do that in Myrtle Beach. That's what usually one of our family reunion type of activities.
There
We
you go.
Charter one of them fishing vessels. All right, so that could be me. I'm so excited. See, what a way to do National Fishing and Boating Week. More coming up.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network. You have successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the World of Boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
So, Pat, you always been a seaman? By that, I mean a sailor, not, sperm.
No, I got you. No, I haven't, but, since the virus hit, I said, Pat, what better excuse to buy a boat?
What? I'm boating. What? I'm boating. My schedule's all filled up, man. I'm boating.
This is the World of Boating. Greg, your first mate. Barry the Boater, Mike the Mariner, rounding out the crew. National Fishing and Boating Week. Yeah, you going to go do any fishing? Barry, you ever take a surprise out, do any fishing off that vessel?
Ben and I used to go out fishing often, and usually what we ended up doing is coming back, putting our gear away, and going out to lunch,
being skunked.
Yeah,
stopping by Publix.
I took a friend with me. Yeah, I took a friend with me, and he taught me something I never thought about. He would buy frozen chum, a couple of bags of it, and then you would take one and you tie it, and I tied it to the ladder.
Yeah,
and that would bring the fish to you.
Well, that's
how
you get mahi. You got to chum them up usually for mahi.
No, when I was a kid, I fished off. I fished off on Miami Beach, off the bridges along the Intracoastal and all that stuff.
Right.
We just threw our little. We had a little quarter pound of frozen shrimp, and we'd throw it off and catch fish that way.
Chumming was cheating.
Chumming. Well, I just didn't know about chumming. I said
no,
that's
it's
what
just
the big
assisting.
Exactly.
Assisting.
It's not cheating. Just making it.
But when I was talking
more
about take them out fishing, I'm not talking about renting. You can do that. You could rent one of those big Chris Crafts or whatever, those big fishing boats, that take you and your family out. I was talking about those big drift boats. They look
the
like
head boats. We call them head boats.
Yeah. And what they do is they'll have why are they called head boats?
Yeah.
Well, because there's 50 people on them, so they call them a head. They call them a head boat.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And they would all be around the boat, and we all drop our lines. So you can imagine all those lines go over with pieces of sardine or whatever they're using for bait on there. Someone's going to catch a fish, and they always do.
Yeah. And when you go out on those charters, I've done that for years with family, and they're kind of touristy and a little cheesy, but it never fails. Someone always catches something quite unique, like a blowfish or, a stingray or an eel or hit a line, and they'll pull that stuff up and everybody takes pictures. Hey, look at this. This is awesome. That kind of thing.
No, but it's a fun thing to do with your kids. It's a great way to get them into fishing, other than fishing off the pier or something like that.
Yeah.
And you don't need a license to go on those drift boats.
Well, it's included in your price of admission. Usually.
Yeah,
exactly.
They pay a fee to the state.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They
But
get
that's
their
a
money.
great, even those types of activities are great ways to get people interested in fishing and boating, and to maybe go out and buy their own boat. And if they're thinking about that, now's probably a great time if you have some, disposable income and you're looking for a new activity to get involved in. The way the market is right now, that it's a good time to go looking for a boat.
Yeah.
It's a buyer's market.
I think
for
actually, is it this weekend? They're having a big or a boat sale, I believe, in Stewart this weekend. Like over 100 used boats up for sale this weekend.
Oh wow, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, they're doing some big but that happens all across the country, let alone Florida, here and stuff. But yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to get a used boat for sure.
Well, used and new, actually. I mean, the new inventories. I mean, the from the boatingindustry.com website, I was looking at an article this morning that was talking about the demand, and it's still pretty soft in most segments of the market, which really indicate an opportunity for someone to go out and find a good deal.
Yeah.
No matter what size boat you're looking for, no matter what configuration you're looking for, right now is a great time to go look for a boat.
Absolutely. And, I always go with the philosophy bigger is better because that's what she said. And, Barry doesn't necessarily believe that, but I think it's true. You never are satisfied with the size of boat that you have. Once you get it, you're like, oh, if I had an extra foot or two, I could have put this there.
Well, I will tell you, I told you, you remember I bought this boat sight unseen.
Right.
Remember I bought it up in Georgia, and I'd only seen it on paper.
Mhm.
And when Colleen and I drove up to look to see it the first time, we walked down the dock and we looked at each other and went, oh, what have we done? This is way bigger than we thought it was.
But then you were happy once you got on it and cruised
Yeah.
around, and you're like, oh, this is perfect, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we thought we bought too much boat, but the fact is, right away it was like, okay, nope, this is perfect. It's way more boat than we thought we needed, but we grew into it. And then, the first time you have 4 or 5 people on board, you'll
That space
appreciate the
disappears pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you
Right.
agree, Barry? What do you think?
I agree to a point, but if you recall, I was I was sitting down and figuring out all the expenses that would be involved with having this boat, what would make it convenient, all of those things. And one of the convenient things I wanted the boat in my garage.
Yeah.
And you're limited in space depending
And a
on the
bigger
size of the garage,
garage.
the size of the garage, and the height of the opening. Because originally, what I wanted, and they no longer produce it, there's a company called Sea Dory in Washington
yeah.
State. They
Mhm.
made these neat little boats. They had a 16-footer that would have fit lengthwise in my garage. Great.
Yeah.
But it was about 4 inches too tall to fit through the opening of the garage. And I had spoken to the people there about, do they have any kind of trailer that would bring the boat a little bit lower so that I would be able to get in the garage? Because I would have preferred that, because it had a tiny little cuddy in the front. It was looked like a little tugboat. So it was enclosed, which is something that I really wish I had.
Right. Well, doesn't somebody make a trailer that's adjustable like that? Surely
don't
that's
know.
a product that's out there in the boating world.
You can find custom made trailers or have one designed for that. And I know exactly what you're talking about. It's
Yeah, you
lowering
press a
the
button
center of
and
gravity.
I want
Mhm.
it to be a low rider now, and so I can
Well,
roll it into the garage.
It can only be so low because remember, a trailer like the one that I have actually has springs. Some trailers don't have springs, but you have to be able to get that trailer over railroad tracks and stuff like that. So there's got to be a minimum amount of space between, but what they'll do is I've seen them where they'll have the axles kind of upside down. In other words, the wheels are up. Instead of being straight across wheels, they'll have them
Exactly.
so that they pigeon up a little bit
Right.
Yes.
at an angle. So it's lowering the frame of the trailer.
So what? But what
Right.
is the clearance on your trailer right now? Just like you were in the water, from the bottom of the boat.
All I know is that when it's in the garage, I could slide under the trailer with no problem and do work underneath
Right,
there.
but wouldn't it be cool if you had a little button you could press and it'd lower it down 10 inches
Air
or
ride?
whatever?
An air ride. system.
No, actually it wouldn't, because
Why?
well, it would if you were launching and loading your boat, maybe,
Yeah.
because it would make it easier. But if if it goes down too low, then you're just going to scrape your, you tilt your engine. But
you can't
yeah.
can't go down lower than what the boat. Well, you can't hit the ground. But I
Right.
mean, if
No,
it just
no, you
lowered
never do
down
that.
to a, maybe
I don't think
clearance
anyone's
just
ever
a
made
few
something
inches.
like that.
What? I came up with another $1 million idea.
Mike, have you ever seen any kind
That's
of
so
air
like
ride
me.
type of trailer that's variable in height?
Well, semi trucks, yes, but not boat.
Well,
trailers.
semis, yeah.
Okay,
I haven't
come
seen-
on.
I haven't seen that, but
Our world of boating passengers, listen up, and I get my 25% of this $1 million idea. You just press a
Right.
boat, it lowers it down when you need it to be lower. It'd be even good for storms too. You pull it out and you need it to be closer to the ground so the wind can't get up under it and tip it over. How about that?
It's an interesting idea.
It's a
but
genius
got a
idea,
feeling-
I tell you.
No,
If I say
saltwater
so
would
myself.
destroy it.
What?
It would have to be made out of like 18/8 stainless steel.
Wrong.
Yeah. And what are steel prices doing right now there, Mike?
Oh, we got bargains going right now. It's
they're
everywhere.
fluctuating a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Look, I can't save the world, just the boating industry every now and then. It's just what I do. Okay, on that disturbing note, we're going to wrap it up. Whether it's sail or motor,
Life is better as a boater.
Safe boating, everyone.
Barnacle-bitten swab. World of Boating is brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Any of this getting through to you, son?
World of Boating is a production of Overboard Entertainment Incorporated.
Computer standing by.
Remember, you can listen live or to archives of past shows worldwide over the internet at worldofboating.com.
Computers can do that?
So tell a friend and come aboard every week for the World of Boating.
This is so great. I can't wait. I'm getting goosebumps. Feel me. Feel me.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
TTFN, ta-ta for now.
The opinions you just heard on the World of Boating are those of the hosts, callers, and guests. They are not necessarily those of any station or network, its management, or advertisers.
What are you being such a weenie for?
While on the water, your safety and the safety of many others depends on you. So boat smart and operate your vessel only after receiving the proper training and instruction for your area.
There is a fine line between genius and madness.
Have any questions or comments? Feel free to do so via the web at worldofboating.com.